Hey guys, Trev from the Struggling Artist Podcast, and I want to talk to you real quick about Struggling Artist Record Club. The Struggling Artist Record Club is a vinyl record subscription service where I hunt and curate the best punk and punk-adjacent music out there and mail their record to your door each and every month. Imagine finding your new favorite band from across the country without ever having to leave the house. It doesn't get much better than that. The excitement of discovering new music just got that much easier. As a member of the Struggling Artist Record Club, you are going to receive some of the best music you've ever heard from bands you may never even heard of. Whether you've been collecting records for years or just starting out, the Struggling Artist Record Club is designed specifically for you. And right now, all new members get a Struggling Artist Record Club exclusive along with the monthly selection. So head to StrugglingArtistRecordClub.com, pick a membership, and start building that collection today.
You're listening to the Struggling Artist Podcast.
People need to be entertained. They need the distraction.
With your host, Trev Allen.
I wish to God that somebody would do something to block out the voices in my head for 5 minutes.
Scotty Saints has returned to the podcast to catch up and talk about the band's 3 new singles that are out now on Spotify, Bandcamp, and all those other places. Stay tuned to the end of this episode to hear one of those singles. By the time this comes out, I believe another one had already dropped, so make sure you're on the lookout for that. This is episode 253 of the Struggling Artist Podcast, struggling with the return of Scotty Saints and the True Believers.
Self-esteem, centered in the ground by my apathy. Never said I learned my lesson. No regrets, no confessions. Truth be told, I never was one to care. I couldn't tell you why everyone was there.
Here we go. We're recording.
All right.
Cool, man. Welcome back, Scotty.
Thank you for having me, Trev.
Yeah, man. It was, you know how cool it was to because you and I talked about meeting up at the Drown show in Portland, right? And then all of a sudden you were on the bill.
Yeah, I know. That was kind of cool. It was completely unexpected, but I thought that was really rad when we got asked. So
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. I love those guys. Have you met them before?
I've known him as an online presence forever. We've been connected online, but I've never met him in person. And seriously, some of the most awesome people.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah, they played Chicago, and Charlie, this dude Charlie, I know, his band opened for him, and he had never met him. I don't think he'd even heard of them at this point. And he was like, a lot of people come through here, and we got to play like that rock star treatment for him. He was like, these guys were the most humble dudes. They were so nice and kind, and so it's always that's always a plus. Let me see if I can. Yeah, she dropped the ball this time. All right, no one's gonna get annoyed by the squeaky ball.
Right.
Yeah. So it was awesome. It was awesome to see you play on stage again, because it's been a minute since I've seen you play. So
It has. I think 2021, dude.
was it that long?
I think it was 2021. You came up. Yeah, it was a while.
That was the record release, right?
You came up for the record release, but then you came up to another one that Michael Caine was playing with us.
Yeah. I snuck into town.
That's right.
Yeah. That was cool. That was a lot of fun. So it was cool. And then again, to see you guys play with Mike in the Morning Afters again was awesome. And so let's catch up. It's been a minute since you've been on the podcast, right? I think the last time you were here, I don't know if it was the new album or if it was the compilation, but it's been a minute. So how's things in the Scotty Saints and True Believers world?
Things are actually very, very good for us right now. I think since the last time we talked, we took our little 4-day trip out to the Southwest, where we played. We were in Las Vegas, we were in Phoenix, Arizona, we were in San Diego, and we were right outside Los Angeles. I'm trying to remember the exact town. It was at the Corbin Bowl, which I'm sure some listeners will, know the Corbin Bowl. Tarzana is where it was.
Okay.
So yeah, we were out there with a band called the Let Me Downs from Tacoma, Washington.
I remember that now. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was good. That kind of prompted a lot of where we are now, actually.
How so?
Well, it was I always viewed us as a New England band. I figured we were only ever going to be a New England band. You know what I mean? Because we don't have any lofty goals of getting signed, touring, going to Europe, doing all that other stuff. We just wanted to have fun and, just play all around New England. The fact that we had the opportunity to go to the Southwest, it was really cool. We actually got to play in the area that the music came from that influenced us so much.
Yeah.
And so we were able to go out there, and I said to the guys before our trip, I'm like, we're going to go out that direction and we're going to find out if we're another dime a dozen band like those guys, or if we can carry our own weight. And we went out there, we actually did really well. And that prompted this shift that we started doing.
Nice. So that's it too. Like I talk about you a lot to people. And I say like Scotty Saints, we're around the same age and you've been making music for all these years. Like the thing is, like, a lot of people disappear. You don't, you're still here. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people just like, they kind of throw in the towel or whatever. Life just changes, but like you adapt to it, and there's something to say about like someone who's been doing it as long as you have, and you're still in the mix. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's insanity or if it's a massive drive, but that's the thing is like we lost a little bit of this element for a while. It was starting to become a little bit more of a chore, and it wasn't quite as much fun. And I wasn't really able to put my finger on why until we really started releasing this new stuff, and we slowed down on the number of shows we played in 2023. So we were a lot more selective. We slowed up. And in doing so, it made the fewer shows that we were doing a lot more fun. Just because you can appreciate it more. You're not doing the grind of the, 9 to 5 day job and then try to play 2-3 times a month and continue that kind of life. It was just a lot, especially with all of our careers. And my drummer went back to school, and, bass player shifted from one job to another and moved further into New Hampshire. And we're with my current job, we're opening a new company. So there's a lot to it. So those outside influences just allowed us to kind of slow up and just enjoy it a hell of a lot more.
That's awesome. And it allowed you to write more too, I'm sure, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
That's awesome. And like,
that was
I bet. And we're going to talk about the 3 singles that are out right now, in a minute. But, so, I think everyone needs some kind of small shift or small break every once in a while to just kind of break it up. Cause everything will become like tedious at one point. You know what I mean? Like there's, and you can still be grateful for everything you've got and everything you do. But like sometimes you just kind of have to either, like I said, readjust just a little bit, or kind of just let just kind of take a little bit of a break and focus on other things, and then remember why you love what you do so much,
Right. And that's a fear I'm sure every band has, and almost every listener here is when we started in 2018. So we've been around for a little while now, into year 6. But most bands play as much as they can. It's a fear of being forgotten. Yeah. If you're not constantly in somebody's face, they have the tendency to forget about you, especially when you're on the level that most of us bands are. If we're not constantly out there, then, what incentive is it for people to check us out? And so that fear drove a lot of the decisions we used to make. And once we got over that, you have to know your own value. And, I would much rather play fewer shows and play to people who really, really want to come out to the shows and hear us, instead of going and playing as much as you can to venues with smaller crowds and people that aren't quite as invested. You know what I mean? So once you get over that fear, it makes a big difference in your thought process. It really does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm an overthinker in nature, so
Me too.
that made it really difficult.
Yeah. I do that. I overthink all the time, and then or I just don't give a fuck, and then again, what you're saying, you kind of do like with I noticed with the podcast, like before Chris came on as my producer, like I just gave up on social media. I was like, this sucks. I hate social media. I'm not good at this, and I'm not going to do it. And then it's very unforgiving. People forget about you real quick. So I understand what you're saying, but if you can kind of tweak that, right, and to do what you guys have been doing, I think that definitely will work. You know what I mean? And then, one thing I as long as are you guys considered like a Portland band, even though none of you live there?
Yeah, we are definitely Portlanders are home base.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And the thing is, if I told people where each of us were from, they'd be like, where?
Yeah.
And so we say Portland because everybody knows Portland, Maine.
Yeah,
so.
and it seems like you have a good you've got a good rapport with Geno's and Sun Tiki, and I don't what else is out there? The State Theater? Is there a place called State Theater?
Yeah, the State Theater, you have Aura, you have Geno's, you have Sun Tiki. There's a lot of places in Portland to play. A lot.
Yeah. So I mean, as long as so I get how that would be like a home. But plus, it's like when I moved out to Tennessee and everyone was like, "You from Boston?" I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But they don't know where Worcester is. They don't know that. They probably don't even know what Rhode Island is. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it was like, whatever you want to say I'm from. But all right. So yeah. And then you've definitely so I saw something you had posted after the first single dropped, right? Zeros and Ones was the first single, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So after that dropped, I saw you had posted something about just by doing this other approach, right? Instead of putting out just an album right away, you're going to lead up to it with these singles every month or whatever, right? Is it every month?
It's every month this year.
Yeah. So I saw just the streaming numbers went up a lot, right?
Right.
So and that's a thing. That's just today's world, right? I found a hip hop artist that I really liked that was newer. This was a couple years ago. And I'm like, how does this guy only have singles? But then an album dropped and it was all those singles plus a few more songs. You know what I mean? So
right.
It just seems to be that's the world we're in, right? People make playlists. They don't want to hear it. Well, I'm divided on this. I think people make playlists because the general population will make playlists because they don't want to hear a full album anymore, right? But if we're talking about people who are listening to like the more independent music, they're a little more than just the general pop. You know what I mean? They're not just gen pop. They're kind of like the lifers, but it's just a younger generation thing, I think, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, perspective is everything when you look at it like this. All new artists really are putting out singles and doing it that way. Algorithms and everything like that, it makes sense. You put out singles, you can get on more playlists. So say you drop a single each month, you could submit to playlists for every single single that you release. However, if you release an album, then you could only submit one of those tracks from that whole album to a playlist. So you're limiting your exposure of what you can do.
Gotcha.
And the other thing to keep in mind is if you look at all the people who are collecting vinyl, CDs seem to be coming back with collections. It's almost all legacy artists that have been around forever. Almost all new artists are doing it this way. And it's crazy. I mean, there are some exceptions, obviously, but predominantly they're releasing singles on Spotify. They're not even doing physical releases. And it makes sense because, I mean, there's no money in it. There's never really been a whole lot of money in it, but it's absolutely a lot worse than it ever was.
Okay. Yeah. So I see it this is something that I talk about too. I've talked about with people. When you write for a single as opposed to writing for an album, right?
Mhm.
There's a fine line where you can do both, but then if once you cross over, like it's either going to be like the single doesn't make sense right now, because it needs everything surrounding it, or
Right.
or like you end up putting out like just like a singles collection, right? So
Pretty much, yeah.
how do you balance that? Like when you write, how do you balance the two so you make sure like once you put out the album, it's still going to make sense together, and it doesn't sound like just like singles.
I mean, pre-production and preparation. I mean, I honestly think that you have to write your material, come up with a number that you would want before you would ever release another record. We came up with the nice round number of 12. So, and we decided that would be perfect. We wanted to write 12 songs that would be cohesive, but could all stand on their own. That way there's maybe a little bit of a common theme. So at the end of it, if we want to do that, so we do the pre-production, we do the preparation, we write the songs, and then they've been basically in the bin for a while, and then you release those songs as you go.
Yep.
Like Zeros and Ones, when you were down in New Jersey, that song we had introduced at that point, and that was 2021.
Okay.
So, I mean, that song's been, might have been 2022. Can't remember exactly, but that one's been around for a little while. And we were holding on to it and kind of writing. That way, if we do decide and we get the interest enough to do a pre-sale, then we will put it on vinyl and release it in early 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So we were kind of writing it as it was a record, but focusing on those 12 songs, making sure that they all could stand on their own.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
a fine line to tell, right? You got to really like.
It is. And do I know if I have it in the bag yet? No, I have no flipping clue if I'm doing it the right way. I guess so. I mean, it's some of the songs that I thought were going to perform a little bit poorly compared to other songs, like kind of blew me away. Like I didn't think Zeros and Ones was going to be the song that, had like 4,000 plays within a month.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's nothing compared to a lot of other artists. But for us, when we weren't really averaging that much, is phenomenal.
No, that's a huge jump. Yeah. I think that's a good. That's a great amount, especially for like a band, like you said, like a band that like you're not like you're not on the level of where you are as far as like exposure. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And the other thing that is ridiculous about it is I had an issue with Spotify. We had talked about it in one of the previous podcasts because how they're not paying out anything to artists.
Yeah.
So I kind of had this, I had this mentality of screw Spotify. But when I was doing that, I was shooting myself in the ass because 85% of the people streaming music are streaming on Spotify.
Yeah.
So I was shooting myself in the foot just based on thinking like, oh, well, I don't want to support them. But, by doing that, I mean, it's like, it's cutting off your nose to spite your face.
It's a catch-22,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, do I want to deep down support that platform? No, I don't. But if that's where most of the people who are going to listen to my stuff are streaming, then I would be an idiot not to. And that makes me an idiot that I never pushed Spotify before this. I never did.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, so, obviously like we don't push Spotify a whole lot on the podcast, right? Because we push Bandcamp because of the way the profits go. But like this podcast is like such a niche kind of podcast where, you know what I mean? Like you have to,
right.
It's, it's like, so it's like, yeah, listen to like exposure, unfortunately is the big thing, right? You want more exposure than anything at this point. Cause if, and when you do that, like, yeah, you gotta play the game, unfortunately. I mean, I guess that's like how it was back in the 90s with the record labels, right? You had to play their game
right.
if you wanted to be out there, so.
Right. I mean, and if you look at it this way, it's 0.0003 cents per stream or whatever. And that's better than getting 0.00000% of no streams that you're getting at all.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, and I like I said, I totally get it, but I also
right.
like when people put up like the end of year wraps, and then people give them flack for using Spotify. It's like, come on, like, if like, say no one used Spotify, then where are they gonna, you know what I mean? Like, it's like,
right.
it's, you know what I'm saying? Like if it's just a thing. It just happens. It's just got to do it. You just got to play the game. And when I see bands that refuse to do it, like you were still putting on there. You just weren't like pumping it. You weren't working it the way you are now, right? So.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but when people are like, I refuse to put my art on there and this and that, and it's like, all right, cool. But like, that means like that kind of, you can't complain about people not knowing you then. you know what I mean? Like,
right. I mean, I was using Apple Music and like some other streaming forever. And just within the last couple of months, I actually sucked it up and I subscribed to Spotify. And one tool that they have on there that none of the others really do is the means to discover new music. The only other one that I've seen that would do that would be Pandora, but they don't have the discovery like Spotify does. And I will give that to Spotify. Yeah. They do have a good discovery function.
And like Pandora was like the first,
oh yeah.
That was like the first, like you can do this thing. And I remember like that's all I used for a long time. And I just had the free one. So like, but I would curate like these playlists they would send me just by like, liking and disliking stuff. Like I remember I had a Dropkick Murphys channel that like only played like a Dropkick Murphy song once every 2 hours. But it was everything else. And that's how I found everybody, really. You know what I mean? Like, was through that, I mean, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have known about half the bands that I absolutely love today.
Right. I mean, when we were coming up, we would get the record and we would listen to it. And I don't know, I mean, maybe I'm just speaking on everybody's behalf without knowing, but at least for me, I would read the liner notes. And I'd be like, oh, they just thanked this person in the liner notes. I'm going to go check out and see who they are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how you used to discover it. But like now that there's no physical media for the most part, and there's not liner notes like there used to be, I mean, there is really no other way to discover people.
Yeah. No.
It's, it's unfortunate, but I mean, you have to rule with the times or you're just going to get 200 plays a year.
Yeah. You're going to fade away into the abyss,
Right.
You can only be a grumpy old man for so long before you got to give in or get out, right?
Right. And I tried to hold out, and I'm grumpy, so yeah. I get it, man.
So one of the things that it's funny. I was just thinking about this while we were talking about when you mentioned like the thing about Spotify that kind of like you liked about them. When I switched, so I had what did I have? What was the Google one or the Android one, whatever it was. It's not even there anymore. So I don't even know what it was.
Oh wow.
Like Google Music or something like that. Anyway, I had that because like I had Android phones and it just made sense. And like I made these playlists that were like so big. Like I was like, I would never be able to make this again. Like, so, but what got me to switch to Spotify, well, one, Google Music was going out of business.
Right.
I picked the wrong platform, I guess. But anyway, one of the things that I liked was you could share your playlists with people. You can make them public.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes, it's funny because I think about it now, like I was like, oh, that's a cool option. So I made like playlists, right? I had one that was like 40 plus years of punk rock, and I had one that was like classic rock stuff that I like, and I got one that like I use when I'm writing, you know what I mean? But like, if I think about it, like that's kind of what the podcast became, right? I mean, just trying to share the music I love with people out there, So it's funny how everything kind of goes hand in hand with each other.
It does. It's just trying to monetize art. I mean, okay. When I was in school, I did the music history crap. I mean, how many of the great composers that we look back on died in debtor's prison? I mean, most of them, most artists from the classical eras that we look back on died broke.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they were gone that their art actually took on any kind of intrinsic value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's no different. It's never been any different. I mean, we were spoiled by like the 70s and 80s in the music industry, but in even towards the mid to late 90s, everything started tanking into what we have now.
Yeah. And a
So
lot of it has
it's
to do with like reproduction of sound too, right? Like something, oh, that's a hit. Let's make 10 albums like that. And then
absolutely.
and then artists lost control of like their own like music, really. Like they had to do what they were told at that point. And like I think I think that like in the United States, like the arts needs to be taken more serious. It needs to be pushed more. It needs to be, you know, more lucrative for people. Like they don't consider it a job, and it sucks. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I know there's other countries where like there's government funding for artists, and you know what I mean? They want more artists. They want more of this. They want more of that, you know? So I don't know if it's something that's ever going to change here. But like we'll take Rev, for example. When I had him on and we were talking about the difference between like touring Europe and touring here, and he was like, the biggest difference is like here it's like, oh no, I'll just catch him at the next show. Like we're over there is everyone's going out to the show, you know? So
Right.
and it was like that here for a while, but I don't think it was ever that big like it is in Europe. And that could be why, you know, I don't know. But I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at is like I just wish there was more offered to artists of all platforms here in this country, and it's just not, you know. And like you said, a lot of them end up dying in jail or broke, or you know, suicide and broke, and like, you know, just like the tortured artist isn't just about like a mindset. It's about how, like, you know, you can't make it doing what you want to do. There's something to that, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, it's
crazy, man. It's crazy.
It is. It's a culture thing for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it, I don't know, maybe it could change at some point, but I get excited when I meet younger people who like albums. Going back to that, like, because everyone just does like everything's just single serving and like instant gratification. Everything is at our fingertips, like everything. You know what I mean? Like, not that I'm saying like that's not good. I think it is good, but I also think like it hurts in a way too. You know, like I remember like you were saying, using liner notes to discover music or listening to the radio,
right?
And even the radio, like that used to be a lucrative like thing, and you don't make shit working in radio anymore, you know?
Right. It's funny though, because I mean I was really doing a lot of thinking about it. I'm seeing a seismic shift just with the crowds that have been coming to Geno's locally when we play. There's a lot of people in their early 20s coming out to these shows, having fun and having a blast. And you don't have super fans anymore. Like when we were kids, like, you know, we would eat up like whatever our favorite bands put out. And, you know, even if it wasn't their greatest album, you know, we would still love it because it was our favorite band.
Yeah.
Whereas now, if it sucks, they're just going to toss it. But that being said, like there's this shift where people are wanting authentic stuff. They're not wanting, you know, what they're being force fed on the radio or anything like that. And they're starting to use these tools like Spotify that we have to discover stuff. I mean, there's thousands upon thousands of songs released every day because it's way more accessible to people to release it.
Yeah.
But people are starting to really look for that authentic stuff. And I don't know how to expand on it any further other than it's really, really kind of cool to watch. I'm seeing a big change, and I'm hoping that it doesn't stall out. I'm hoping that it continues.
Yeah, I like that, and like there was a few young people at the show in Portland, and it seemed like, you know, everyone was having a good time, and like it was cool. It is cool to see that kind of thing, you know, and like seeing younger bands like kind of doing it. You know, it's funny because like I remember for a minute there, I got all grumpy old man about like musicians who are like making it because of social media,
right?
You know, but like they're talented. they also learned how to use like social media to help them, right? So
Right.
And like, cause like, I mean, I've discovered bands because of social media now, like that I've never heard of. And I'm like, these guys are great. You know what I mean? And like, it's just about how it's just, you gotta play that game. You gotta evolve and play that in that other angle. Unfortunately, like it's not, you can't, it's just not good enough just to do just the music anymore. If you want that exposure,
I mean, record labels had A&R departments back in the day, and a majority of what they were doing was actually like helping build the artist. And now labels won't even touch you unless you already have thousands upon thousands of fans. So there is no more investment in building the artist.
Right. Yeah.
And that's exactly where the problem lies. Is there's no development anymore. You have to do it on your own. You have no guidance. That being said, it's not necessarily a bad thing because they were basically grooming these bands to be carbon copies of what was the hit at the time.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, there was at least some kind of map in order to kind of get where you needed to go. So, I mean, you have a lot more tools that you at your disposal, but you have to use them to develop yourself because no one's going to help you with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into the singles that are out right now. And, yeah, let's start with that. Like, just the sound, like it's what I love about your music is like, you can change anything you want, but it still sounds like your band. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like, especially like zeros and ones, when that came out, I was like, this is like hardcore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this is like aggressive. I mean, it's very aggressive, and you already played pretty aggressively to begin with, but now like, I was like, holy shit. Like, this is like another, like an awakening, something, you know what I mean? Like, there's like, and now when you were writing the song, was it something like, was that always in mind, like to have it be that hard, or did it kind of just evolve into it?
I wanted to write something a little bit heavier,
Yeah.
And faster. That was starting when I was kind of having this spiritual musical awakening or something, as I'd call it. It's like it really just kind of came down to when I viewed us as a New England band. Okay, so just preface this a little bit. I was just recently diagnosed with ADHD. So I had been going crazy in my own freaking head for years, over-analyzing every single little thing. So now that I prefaced that, and Stratera is amazing, just to cleared my head. But so I viewed us as a New England band. I thought that we needed to kind of stay in the nice little New England street punk bubble so that we could at least kind of fit in with the New England bands that we were going to be playing with. You know what I mean? We didn't want to be the sore thumb band that didn't fit on any of the bills. So it kind of started when we went to the West Coast and everything, that we've always been heavily influenced by skate punk and pretty much 1994 with the releases of like Offspring and all that other stuff. So it's kind of fitting that it's 30 years. You know what I mean? But what's crazy about it is like at that point in time, I'm like, this is the stuff that has influenced us. And I'm kind of trying to pigeonhole it into a nice box because I viewed us as a New England band. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? I was basically overthinking it and selling myself short in the type of music I was writing. So instead of pigeonholing myself, I said, screw it. I'm going to write whatever the hell comes to mind. And it's all kind of come out with this way more 90s skate punk type edge. And that's where a lot of the new music has come from, is like, I'm finally, instead of fighting my influences, I'm leaning right into them.
Nice. Yeah, no, I dig it, man. It sounds good. And again, it sounds like you. It's not like it's something like, it's not like you're like pretending to be something else. You know what I mean? Like, you've always been pretty genuine with your music and what you do with it. So, yeah, I was a big fan of it, man. I was like, it gave me, like I said, like I was like, this is like borderline like hardcore. Like I'm expecting to see you play this like next to Ramallah. You know what I mean? Like it's, I was into it. I was totally into it. And like, so that one dropped, and that was the one that you said like hit like really big numbers, right, for you?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was really surprised with how that took off. within the first 2 weeks of release, we were up to like 2,500 streams.
Nice.
Which I was like, how the hell did that happen? Because I mean, it's not like it was planned.
Right.
It's just, there was just something about it that got traction.
And then Wish You Well dropped after that. That was the second one that dropped, right? Yeah.
Yes.
It was funny because I think I had asked you, I was like, hey, I'm doing this like thing on my Patreon, like a little radio thing. I'm going to use one of your songs. And I thought it was Zeros and Ones, but I used Wish You Well. So I was listening to it like in live as I was recording. I'm like, oh, this isn't that song I thought it was. I was like, it's still good and it worked, but like, so like that song kind of brought you back to that more melodic thing that you've been doing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So is the album do all these like, how do you, so when you release the singles, right? You know which ones you're releasing at what time, right? And you know, like, is that going to be like the track order, or is it when you put it together, it's going to be something different?
When I put it together, it's probably going to be something different.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't want it to track too much in the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to give people something to look forward to.
Yeah. I got you. Yeah. So, and then the latest single is Won't Last Another Day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
And I just got that today. I was like, wait, because I was like, yeah, I got these two singles I heard from him, and then I was like, wait, I think another one dropped. So I had to go grab that today. And like that one kind of speeds up again, right? So is there like as you're releasing these, do you still have like an overarching like ebb and flow to it? Like,
yeah, I really do. It's kind of funny because I'm going with the old school approach. If you think about like circa 87, 88, they always released the more aggressive single first, and then the second one was usually a freaking power ballad.
Okay.
So I'm kind of, I want to lead off with something that gets your attention and smacks you in the face. Yeah. The second one that I released, I wanted to be something a little bit more melodic and cool. So I'm kind of going back and forth with that. Now, that being said, the back half of the year, when we get into September and after, it's probably all going to just punch you in the face for the rest of the year.
Good. You want that leading up to like dropping it, right? Dropping like the thing as a whole. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah. That's good. So this one had a different like logo. You have a new logo, and it took me a minute. It's a skateboard wheel, right?
Yes, it is.
It took me a minute. It's been a long time since I looked at an actual skateboard. So, but yeah, and then like this one had a different picture to it. Like, is there a reason for that? Just to break it up, the monotony of having the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to break that up. The next one that's going to be released in April, I have completely different artwork for it. So I'm going to be kind of shaking it up. The first two, I really wanted to do more of a brand awareness type deal. Since we did change the logo.
Okay, yeah.
So we wanted to kind of build that. And then the third one, it's the pictures of the band, but then it also has the logo on it. So like I said, we're trying to just rebuild that and kind of rebrand.
Now, when you release it as a full album, do you have like album artwork and everything already worked out, or does that come later?
I do have the artwork and everything planned out.
Okay. Oh, so you even have the track listing planned out then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, nice. We'll talk off air about that because I'm interested in here.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. What about like, so I know, one of the big things we just talked about was like physical media and how it's kind of kaput at the moment, unless you're a lifer,
Right.
Unfortunately, there's not enough people in the world that are lifers when it comes to loving music. Right. Do you plan on a physical release with this?
I do. Now it just depends on in what format. That's why around September, October, I'm planning on doing a pre-sale for the record.
Yeah.
Depending on how many copies we can pre-sale will depend on how big my order is, because I'm obviously going to have some for, to sell at shows. And maybe, hook up the, Circling Artist Record Club, stuff of that nature. I'm also hoping to possibly pick up a little bit of distribution in Europe.
Yeah.
Even if it's, 10 copies to an indie label somewhere or to a store, every little bit helps. So I'm hoping to pre-sell enough to cover that. I mean, if I'm only pre-selling like 20 records, then it's kind of a wash. I'll just send everybody their money back and be like, okay, cool, we'll leave it digital.
Yeah.
But that's why I kind of want to test the waters, because the last thing I want to do is have records sitting in my closet collecting dust, along with some of the CDs that I still have.
Right.
So
right.
exactly. So yeah.
Would it be worth, like, I mean, if it's just, would it be worth doing, like, because I know, like, you got to buy, in order to get a good deal on records, you got to buy like X amount of them, right? Like,
right.
So like, but like there are options out there, and they're more like, I say local as in like within the United States, where you could get something like at a shorter run. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like,
Yeah.
Maybe would that be something that you would consider, or is this like you want to do the big push, or is no, it's just not gonna.
It's one of those things where, say you get 300 records and you get them at a price where you could sell them at like the $20 price point.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do the shorter run like that, you're going to be pricing your 12-inch somewhere upwards of like $28 to $30 in order to make ends meet.
Right.
And the thing is, for like a club like yours, like you need to buy at a discount in order to make it work. So it's one of those where that would completely take that off the table too.
Yeah.
So I can tell you at the very least, I'm going to, each band member is going to order our own record, even if it costs us $80, because I'm going to have that on vinyl, damn it. But, that's the thing is, there will be copies and there will be options and stuff. I want it to be at a price point that's palatable for everybody. When we did the lathe cut release with the label that we were dealing with, I wasn't really happy with the whole lathe cut idea. You know what I mean? And I don't want to do something like that. And even that lathe cut 7-inch was priced higher than what you would typically go to the record store and buy a 7-inch for.
Ah, okay.
So, you can buy
it's tough. It's tough,
right?
Man. It's just like, and you can get like, and I know like you can do like a full record on a lathe cut. You know what I mean? But like,
exactly
when it comes down to like the pricing, like, yeah, you're right. If you got to sell it for X amount, like, unless you're just like, if you got money and you're just like, we're just gonna do this, and if we lose it, we lose money. You know what I mean? But like, it sucks.
Right.
It sucks to do that. You know what I mean? Like, no one wants to do that. Like,
right.
I've been struggling with like some of my writing where I'm ready to like put something out there, but like I'm like, it's so expensive to publish a book.
Right.
So like I'm working on a deal now where I think I'm gonna put it out in audio format, because one, I already have like the platform for it, right? I'm already like doing audio stuff, and I do, and I do other things other than just the podcast. Like I do like the promo spots for people. I've recorded things for people for their albums, like a little speaking part. You know what I mean? So like it's
right.
I've kind of got like a ground basis for that, and then maybe if I want to do a physical like book or something, I can do that later. But it's just so expensive, and it's just like, how much? This podcast doesn't make any money, the record club. Right. I'm not making money doing that. I'm doing all this out of like the love of it. And I love doing it. And I'm not bitching about it, but like everything, like after a while, things do add up.
Right.
Up,
But to me, it's more the fact that I can have CDs lie in my closet in infinity and not have to worry about it. Whereas when you have a record and you have these stored in your closet or wherever, like they can be damaged. They can warp.
Yeah.
So that's more my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't need to sell like 300 records off the bat. Like, but it's just storing them for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And worrying about the format actually being damaged would be more my concern than anything else.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That makes sense too, dude. That makes sense. Like,
right.
There's a little sidebar. There's like a little record shop just opened up in my town. And like, I've been in there a couple times and I've talked to him a few times and I kind of told him what I do. I didn't get into it too much, but like, I'm going to try to do stuff over there. I'm going to see if he'll like, I know he said he was interested in like local, like New England, artists and stuff, but maybe I can convince the guy if he'll like set up a little corner for it. You know what I mean? And people can push stuff.
Oh yeah.
For consignment or whatever, you know what I mean?
Well, that would be cool. I mean, and I'm sure that they would probably love to have like a featured record from your record club every month or something.
Yeah, maybe that could work too. Yeah, that could be something. I had talked about that because I thought about doing like business cards for the record club before and like putting them in record shops, but like a couple people I know are like, I don't know if record shops would be into that because like, I'm like, wow, it's just like it's something different. Like it's like, you know, if you partner with them, then they can get stuff like, you know what I mean? Like if you partner with somebody, like they can get benefit from it too, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
So-
you're not in direct competition.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure this shit out, Scotty. You know,
Yeah.
this whole
Yeah, I
thing,
don't-
like trying to figure it all. I built a website and like for the podcast, and it's been
Nice.
done for months, and I haven't launched it yet because I'm like nervous. You know what I mean? So by the time this episode comes out, I do believe it will be launched by them. And,
Nice.
And again, I'm always trying to do things. Everything I do is to help you guys. Like I want to help the music I love. I feel like everyone wants to love it and they just need to hear it. Right. So that's why I do all these things. And like one of the big things we're going to do, and I don't know if you know much about this platform, but Discord.
Yes.
So I got pissed off because I missed I didn't see an event thing on Facebook for this time and place for their show on St. Patrick's Day. So I decided I wanted to make a Discord so people could go there and post like their shows without an algorithm screwing with it. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Because like I follow the band, and why wouldn't I see their event? You know, and I never saw it. Like, and that happens a lot. There's a lot of things like I've been invited to like events that I never even got a notification for.
Yeah, I know. It's getting really, really bad.
And it sucks because like that's the only way to do it now, you know? Unless you're like in Portland, you can still put flyers up everywhere and people like,
Right.
Because Portland still has that artsy side of it, right? But like you can't like, you know, I put up a poster for a show in Whitensville. People are gonna be like, "What is that?" You know what I mean? Like, you know, we're not driving to Providence. We're not driving to Worcester. You know, so it's kind of I don't know. I just think this would be a good online option. And I guess there are like things that do that, but like I don't know where they are, so I got to make my own.
Yeah, you might as well, man. I mean, that's the only way. I mean, necessity is the mother of invention, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. So what can you tell us? What else can you tell us about the album or about the other songs without giving away anything?
They're all going to be harder edge than our previous stuff.
Yeah.
They're all going to lean more into the skate punk of the 90s, which influenced us, which is kind of where we're going with the rebrand. So you're going to have the melody and stuff like that we've always had. But like I said, there's going to be a little bit more of an edge, and it's definitely going to be a lot more skate punk. If you're fans of the Warped Tour, and when I say Warped Tour, I'm talking about 97, 98, 99 Warped Tour, not what it became, then you'll like it. Would be at home on Epitaph, would be at home on Fat Wreck. So that type of deal. If you like that style of music, then I think you're going to really, really like where the rest of the record goes.
Cool. That's good. Well, what about shows? You guys going to do a little tour again this year, or?
Well, we're looking into it. I don't have anything on the books with so my drummer was in school again, and he's graduating in May. So with his new job, and he's going to be working at a hospital. We don't know what his schedule's looking like quite yet.
Yeah.
So we've been kind of slow on the booking, but once he gets established and we know what we're dealing with schedule wise, then it's going to be full bore, and we're going to do it again.
Nice.
We definitely want to get this time. We're actually looking at going more southeast.
Okay.
And then possibly hitting a little bit more Midwest. Like I want to hit Pittsburgh. I want to hit Ohio, and I want to hit Chicago. So those are all kind of in the cards of areas that we're going to go and what we're looking at doing.
Yeah. Cool. Well, if there's anything I can do, let me know, and I'll do the best I can.
Well, you do enough, and we appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. Of course. All right. So where can people find you? Have you changed your social medias? Let's refresh everybody where you are.
Okay. We're on Facebook. So Scotty Saints and the True Believers. Look us up. You can find us on Instagram. It's just Scotty Saints. It was a personal page that kind of turned into what it is now with the band page. You can find us on Spotify, all the streaming. You can find us on Bandcamp. I'm trying to think where you can find us on YouTube. So we're around. I'm really, really terrible at promoting myself right now. So, any help there. But all you have to do is look up Scotty Saints and the True Believers. Hell, you can Google us and everything will pop up.
Yeah, pop up first too, right? You're the first.
Yep.
You're the only Scotty Saints and the True Believers. So.
That's right.
Scotty, man, this was great catching up with you.
Absolutely, man.
Congrats on the music. Doing well the way you're doing it. Like I said, you got that business brain. So I'm happy that this new method is working out well for you. And I can't wait to hear what's next. When's the next release? What's the date for that?
The next one is I gotta look at my calendar.
I always do this to you.
April 19th.
April 19th. All right, cool.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, that's cool. Everyone be on the lookout for that. And in the show notes, we'll have links to all things Scotty Saints and the True Believers. Yep. All right, buddy.
Very cool. All right, man. Thank you.
Of course. All right, and that's the show. I want to thank Scotty Saints again for being today's guest on the Struggling Artist Podcast. In the show notes, you will find links to Scotty Saints and the True Believers. Instagram, Facebook, Bandcamp. You know what goes down there. Thank you to Chris Chavez for being producer of the podcast. Thank you to State Line Records for sponsoring the podcast. And thank you to Losers Circle for allowing us to use their song, Great Illusion of Time, off of their album Took Long Enough, as our intro music. Thank you to everyone supporting us over at Patreon. Head to patreon.com/podcasttsa. Check out what we have going on. And if you feel so inclined, please join. Thank you to everyone who listens to the podcast. Without listeners, we would not be here. We have breached 250 episodes. We have gotten a website. We have a Patreon. We've put on events, and we're going to do some more things in the future. And it wouldn't be possible without every single one of you. And I deeply, deeply appreciate it. All right, it's time to get out of here with a song. Scotty was nice enough to give us a song to play. This is their latest single, Won't Last Another Day, by Scotty Saints and the True Believers. Until next week, take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you then.